Good evening. Thank you for joining us this evening. It is the end of September. It's September 20th, and that means we've got 10 days to go until dues are due. Yes, get all of your club members to pay their dues so they have uninterrupted access to pathways and your club stays in good standing. This evening, we do have Lori Geddes, who is a treasurer of specialty and community clubs. And she will be sharing some really great tools that are available for treasurers to get their job done. We'll be doing some questions and answers, and we'll be thinking a little bit about increasing membership and how to make that easier. First off, I do want to encourage everybody to get their membership payments in. The Toastmasters.org site tends to occasionally crash the very last night of dues period. So get those payments in early and often. I know it's tempting to wait until the last day and just hand all of them in at the same time. But if the website is down, you are going to be out of luck. So if you've got a few payments tonight, get them in there. A couple more days, get them in there, spread them out if you can, just to make sure everybody gets their payment in as quickly as possible. Thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, a little bit of great information from Lori Geddes about some great tools and tips for treasurers. Lori.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Treasurer Corner, as I like to call it. How many of you use Free Toast to manage your treasurer duties?
Lori, I'm a new treasurer. I've been in the club for a long time, but I've always helped the previous treasurer because he's kind of like, I don't want to say Luddite, but the word's out there. But he's not comfortable with doing a lot of that stuff. So, yeah, so I'm not, I don't know how to use it optimally. So we do have Free Toast.
Good. In the TLI, I was doing a treasurer, and one person, their club didn't have the Free Toast site set up. I was like, how could you not have that set up?
Yeah.
And it's a long-time club. It wasn't like it was a newly chartered club. So it's good. The good first step is Free Toast has you have it. So if in Free Toast, if they did it correctly and put you in as treasurer, you should see, let me share my screen. When you log in, you should see, so here's for one of my clubs, then you log in as a member, and then down here in the members only area, the treasurer function dues pops up. So this is a really neat tool. When I was first treasurer and I found this, I was like, ooh, what does this do? So I played around with it, and it is a very useful tool. Now, can you see the pop-up box, or do I have to switch?
Nope, it popped up.
Okay. Sometimes when I pop up things, I don't know if it translates over. So it's basically plug and play in terms of you can put in your name, your information. When the last meeting before dues are due, that people can hand you a check if you have in person. My other club is an online only at this point, so we don't have in person. So I have a little bit earlier date for that, because it might take them time to get the check if they're going to mail a check or get something else to me. So I can actually take this out because I sent out the invoices, because what this is doing is generating an invoice to send, and it'll automatically send it to everyone in your club, how much they owe, how to pay, when to pay by, and so on and so forth. So I sent these out before, when we were trying to get everyone to pay before August 1st, to save them $15. So now I put the total amount, the $60 for the treasure, or for the Toastmasters dues, and then our club has $5. So I put both of them in there. Just because you don't want to put $60 and then say, oh, by the way, I need the additional money for the club dues, so that it'll cover both of them. And so then, I just put my address. If they want to mail in a check, that's fine. And then it comes with preloaded wording that you can use. I've amended it somewhat. You can change, you just click on it and delete, add whatever you need to. But it's pretty boilerplate. It's not blank when you get it. So if you want to add like the address here to mail it in, you notice that all of these fields that you filled in up here have these little bracketed things in red. Well, if you put that in anywhere here, it will pull whatever you put up there and put it into the invoice at that point. And that is really nice. So you're not retyping everything over and over again. And then once you get the invoice part set the way you like it, all you have to do is change this every dues period and then send them out again. You don't have to keep retyping going in and saying, okay, how many different dates do I have in there? Do I change them all? I really wish my syllabus for my classes worked like this, because I always forget one date. I always forget one date, and it confuses students. Like in spring, this was due in November. Like, yeah, you were supposed to put it in to me, get it to me before you signed up for the class. Great. Anyways, I sidetrack. Okay, so like I said, this is boilerplate. One thing you might want to do is, if you have enabled the self-pay in TMI, then that's what I changed in here, is you can now pay your dues directly on the Toastmasters International website, and then they can bring cash or check to me at our club meetings, or they can deliver it to my address. And then the last day, and so on. Let me make this bigger. I always hate that this is so small. Okay. I also enabled PayPal. There's a neat at the bottom of this. You'll see if you have a PayPal account, you can enable a PayPal buy now button directly on the invoice. So when they get the invoice in email, all they do is click on that and it goes to your PayPal, and they can then pay you. And I have directions on what the charges are in terms of using PayPal, which is up here. So that'll also be in there. But then I also will accept Zelle payments, so they can send me the money via Zelle, because a lot of banks are using Zelle now. And then then I say, if you pay through Toastmasters International, then you would just bring the $5 to the next meeting. Okay. And then I can take this out because it's past that time. So you can see how easy it is to change things in this box. I also like this last line, that if they don't plan on renewing their membership, to let me know by email, because then I won't keep nagging them to pay. And it works really well. I usually get a couple of people reply to the email with the invoice saying they're not going to renew. And then I always try to, that's my last attempt to try and keep them in the club and say, oh, why, you know, and so on and so forth. We're gonna miss you, and oh, think of all the fun you have. You know, kind of guilt them into maybe staying, but it never works. And so after I'm good with everything, I always kind of look over everything to make sure everything is accurate. And then I do the save dues notice info. At this point, if you just click close, it won't save any of the changes that I made, and I'd have to go through and redo it all anyways. So save dues. And then you can preview what the invoice looks like. See, it has all except the member name. It has all of the dates in, along with my address and so on and so forth. And all of the directions. And then at the bottom, it tells you that it's semi-annual dues renewal. And then here are the directions on using PayPal. And then here's the PayPal Now button. So it makes it very convenient to them to pay via PayPal, so that they're not waiting and saying, well, you know, I want to pay by credit card, but I don't see her, or, you know, I don't have time to do it. So it's kind of like in your face. Hey, look, you got the invoice, you're thinking about it, pay it now. And I do have some people who do use PayPal. Most of them send me checks or pay directly, since I have enabled the self-pay in International. So then you can click on this and send notices, and then you can also use this page to track payments. So as people, if they paid, there's no pay, you know, direct, like TMI yourself, pay yourself. So I use direct deposit as to remind myself that these people paid for themselves in International, even though they didn't direct deposit anything into my account or the club's account. So whoever is in charge of Free Toast Host, maybe they should update this a little bit to reflect how we pay now. Anyways, so I go through, and you can see that everyone in our club except for 2 people, took advantage of that $45 deadline, the deadline, and paid early and saved themselves $15. So I have, most of them self-paid, but I had a couple of new members. He actually paid by credit card, but of course there is no credit card here. So I had one of our new members pay by check, and the other person pay by credit card, but I just did direct deposit because he did it directly on Toastmasters International at one of our meetings. So there's 2 people that I had to send. So I would update and send notices after I switched who paid and who didn't pay. So before you do this, I do recommend that you check the your club's website or your club area, Club Central, that's what it's called, in Toastmasters International, to see if anybody has self-paid. Hopefully they tell you in a meeting or in an email, and if they do pay, you usually get a notice from Toastmasters International that someone paid their dues. So that, you know, hopefully you know before this point. So you're not sending out invoices to people who have already paid. That also, they don't like that. That happened to me the first year I was a treasurer. I'm like, well, I don't know. I have no idea. And if you have like things like for our guests, for any guest speakers that you may have at your club, you can always mark this last one with no email other. You can also mark it for yourself, so you don't get the invoice, because obviously you know what it says. You don't necessarily need it. Otherwise, if you mark everyone in the club with this, it will try to send out the invoice to everyone. And I don't even know what the email is for our guest. I know there's an email for it, but I think it's a fake account, so it'll come back to you. You'll be like, oh man. After you send out invoices the first time, you can go back into here and then just do update changes only. So if you had like 5 people who needed to get the invoice, and then some of them pay after you sent the invoices out, and then you can mark them as paid, you can do update changes only. You can reset all. So like after September 30th, you can just reset all, and the blue buttons will automatically go under send. And then once you're done with that, you can do dues follow-up for anybody now who has not paid. So I could send a basic follow-up email for unpaid dues. And then you just type in a friendly little reminder saying, hey, time's running out. You know, if you don't pay by, you know, October 1st, you're going to lose your connection to Pathways, and you won't be able to do anything in Toastmasters International, and so on and so forth. And we miss you in our club. Please come back. You know, whatever guilt you can use it. I'm not gonna, I already did this with this club, so I'm not gonna do it again. You can also send an email to those who have paid, especially those who have paid online at International, saying, hey, thank you for your payment. We are so happy that you are invested in our club. You know, it's always nice to recognize when people do stuff like that. That way they know you got their payment, it went through, everything's good, and they feel like a valued member of the club. I think that would go a long way to retention as well. So that is the dues management screens. And when I found this, it changed my life. In fact, the first couple of times I actually printed out this page. I think I copied it and printed it out, or I did a screenshot of it, and I took it to meetings with me, and as people paid, I checked off so that I could remember and come back here. And I wrote notes like, they paid by check, they did this, you know, I put down the check number and everything. So it's a really neat tool to use to stay organized, to know what's going on with your club. I just kind of wish it talked to Toastmasters International so that it would automatically, if somebody paid now their own dues on international, it would translate into here. But once I learned that it doesn't, and I'm now in the habit of, before I do the invoice part of it, I always check international first to see who is paid and who hasn't paid. Okay, any questions before I leave this page?
Now, yeah, kind of, sort of. I have a question in that. Okay, so pretend now when they paid their dues to Toastmasters International, they would have only paid the $60,
Right.
or 45 back before August 1st. But your $5 is kind of still hanging out there. How would you let them know that they've got to do that yet?
Well,
Remind them.
it was on the invoice for one, and we talked about it in our club when I enabled the self-pay, that they can either bring cash. The majority of our members meet in person. We have 2 people who can't meet in person and are online. So one person mailed me a check for $5, which is kind of ridiculous. I still haven't cashed it, by the way. And everyone else, I walked into a meeting one day and everybody was throwing me $5 bills.
Okay.
Oh, it's an honor system, basically, to pay it. Since our lovely, wonderful district leaders have instituted district dollars, and our club is really good at earning district dollars, we haven't really had to dip into our money to pay for things that we need as a club, because we have gotten all of our expenses, including the person who we use his Zoom, he got reimbursed for his Zoom account. So I really, 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 really like this program with the district dollars. So that's another way that you can do it. I have talked to other people in other clubs where they have now, because of that and because of other fundraising events, they have eliminated their club dues. So they no longer collect club dues. Because there's another thing you can do as a club. You can talk to Eric Young or Jennifer Young. And during the state fair, you can work the Lions Club corn roast and earn money for your club. They pay pretty well too, and it's only like a 4-hour commitment. So you can make a lot of money with a couple of members doing a 4-hour shift. Because they're always looking for volunteers. They're always looking for, people to staff that, and getting paid for your club would be, the bonus on that. So that's another way to earn money for your club, to not have to. You can then, if you earn enough, you can say, hey, we don't need to collect dues anymore because our expenses are so low that it doesn't make sense to do that.
Now I know,
Other questions?
I know that there are some specific rules about fundraising in Toastmasters. So
Mhm.
this isn't something like, hey, let's sell corn every week for the rest of,
No.
no. Don't. Toastmasters is an educational organization. It's not a fundraising or service organization. So if you
Mhm.
if you do a little bit of fundraising, it's probably not a big deal.
Yeah.
But Toastmasters wants to have us focus on our educational experience, and
Mhm.
having that, a little something isn't a big deal, but keep us focused on education, doing those speeches, those projects, and supporting people in learning and our clubs in excellence.
Yeah.
I think one thing I wanted to go over a little bit is that not only do we have, let me just pull up some information on, let's pull this one up. So as we looked at Free Toast Host, even if you're not using Free Toast Host, it's important to stay fairly organized about how you collect money, whether you track it on an Excel spreadsheet or whatever. But there's also the idea that as treasurers, you're going to be working with the VP membership in onboarding the new members. And one way to help keep that nice and smooth is having a document right there in the guest pamphlet that shows how to make sure you can get payments applied really, really quickly and painlessly. So having a document like this can really make it easy to have your new members get their payment taken care of and get that all applied appropriately without a lot of hassle. Historically, we would have a lot of checks coming in, and you'd have to make sure the check went to the right people. And sometimes people would either want to or not want to use a specific type of a payment method. But having something like a letter attached right there in the membership packet can really help. One thing I do want to mention that we haven't really emphasized as much: credit cards should not be simply emailed. You want to make sure that that's kept more securely. Do it over voice when you're talking on the phone. Do it in person if you can. If you've got Wi-Fi in your club space, sit down, get that dues payment in that way. And then as soon as your new member is in, if you've got personal payment available and they can put in their own payment in the future, that would be fine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I've done that with a couple of members where they wanted to pay by credit card and they were remote, and I said, call me. Here's my phone number.
yeah,
We'll do it over the phone. Do not email. Do not email. Do not even text it to me.
yeah, I don't even, I actually edited my PDF of my membership form, and where it says, oh, fill in your credit card information here, I actually said, do not put your credit card information here. We want to respect our members' privacy. We want to respect their digital data. We don't want it to accidentally somehow fall into the wrong hands. So over the phone, do it in person. You can do it on Zoom verbally. There are lots of ways to get that information together, but probably not filling it out on that PDF. So when you have a form that's ready for new members, you're going to encourage them to fill everything in on the application. You're going to have information about what the membership dues are. You'll want to make sure that's updated since August. They do have the new application out there. So
Do
make
they?
sure that your application in those files indicates it's $60 every 6 months,
Mhm.
which makes it a nice round number. It's $10 a month now. It's still cheaper than Netflix and it's a lot more fun.
Mhm.
If you've got Venmo available, if you've got Zelle, if you've got PayPal, make sure any of your options that are available are out there, and give a nice straightforward set of instructions on how to use it. What the account information is that they're looking for, what the email associated it might be. Encourage them to put in a comment if it's necessary. And if there's something like for PayPal, you're sending it to a friend. We are
Mhm.
not a corporation. We are not for profit. So you're not breaking any rules by saying that we're your friend.
Yeah.
And again, credit cards, do not use unsecured email. I work for a financial organization. We had somebody trying to encourage us to send secure mail, not through secure email. And I'm like, maybe we'll use a fax machine. Yeah, and we did. Having something like this in your membership booklet is a great way to communicate and make sure that information is handy and any options are available. If, like with Lori, if you've got a way of sending in checks, again, share that information explicitly, share the address it should be mailed to if that's the way it goes.
Mhm.
And it just keeps it really simple for everybody.
Can I get a copy of that
Sure. I'll
that
get that.
document?
Yep.
Oh,
I will
that's
send it.
awesome.
I'll put the link
think-
in this. I'll put the link in. Actually, let's see, where's my link for it?
I think that will help.
Yep. Let me it's share, that's how I do it. I haven't had to use this for a little bit, so I'm a little rusty, but
You can always download it and email it as a Word document too.
yeah, let me copy that. And this is okay, so it is right there in the chat. So
Oh, wow. That's wonderful. Thank you.
sure. It's not mine on the bottom. I even list the guy who did it. It's one of the guys in California that I know. His name is Tom Pham, and he's district director.
That's good.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's nice is you can tailor it for your own club.
The specific methods you have. If you use checks, that's an option. If you use credit cards, you make sure that people don't accidentally send you the wrong information in the wrong format. If you've got a different online way to do things, some clubs have actually used like Eventbrite to accept payment. Not sure I do that much because it tends to be expensive, but it's a way to do it. So you'd want to encourage that.
I know some clubs use signed up for Square.
Yep.
So that they can accept credit card payments right at their meetings.
Super easy. Yep. Jason?
Actually, using Eventbrite for member payments is against their terms of service, so I would not recommend doing that.
Thanks for the heads up. Okay, good to know. So we're coming up on, it's almost October. We want to encourage all clubs to make sure they have the magic number 8 of members. Everybody, that at least keeps your club in good standing. So if you've got a larger club and you're worried that not everybody's paying right on time, even though you've been harping at them for a couple weeks, the magic number is make sure you have 8. And if you have a small club and you suddenly realize that you're not going to get 8 renewals, well, if your small club had 8 members last season, try to get to that 8 as soon as possible this season. 8 is the cutoff for a club in good standing. If your club did not have 8 members since April, and you don't have 8 members yet, this is crucial. We really, really would need you to get those final new members. And when you get those new members in the next week or so, have them start in September. We need to have at least 1 month where there are 8 members for your club to be in good standing. So that's the crucial point about 8 members. Did anybody have any other questions about anything unusual that happens with your club with dues? Or if there's any other ideas or suggestions that you have for keeping it easy?
When you're setting up a Venmo account, are you using your personal account or are you creating a separate account? And then how do you do that? Because it's redundant with the information that I have for my personal Venmo. I would just rather not mix club money and my money.
You would need to have a club account. So your club bank account would have to be separate.
Yeah, which it is, of course,
Yeah.
but I don't have a phone number for the club.
Okay.
And Venmo requires a phone number. So how do you have a separate account for Venmo unless you have a cell phone for the club?
You can get a Google Voice phone number is a way to get a free phone number. I'm less familiar with Venmo. My club uses Zelle, or the club I'm treasurer of uses Zelle, and that just
Okay.
needs an email address that's unique.
Yeah, so I tried using Zelle, and at least our checking account, because it has an EIN number instead of a social security number, is a business account. And Zelle only supports individual or personal, not business. So is that not true of your checking account?
My suggestion would be talk to your bank, because I believe when I set it up, it didn't work initially, but then I talked to the bank and they made it work.
Okay, I did talk to my bank. They
Okay.
didn't seem to be able to make it work.
And
They
the
said,
club I'm treasurer of is a corporate club, and it was our corporate credit union, so maybe they did some magic
yeah,
too.
I got
Yeah.
some flexibility there. No, we're just with First Citizens Bank, and
But
Yeah.
Easy way to get a burner phone number is Google Phone, which is free.
sure.
Google phone. Okay.
Yes.
Google Phone, yeah. Of course, whenever I get Zelle
Voice,
payments, I
think
treat
it's
them as
called.
cash. So if I would just receive them personally and then take the cash out and put it in the other account. Or I would pay their dues for them and then put the club dues into the account with my credit card. On
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Toastmasters Internet. I said I treat any Zelle payments as cash, as if they had handed me cash.
Okay, so it's your personal Zelle account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it would be because when you use Zelle, you have to they would use my email address.
Right, that's
So it would come directly to me, not to the club, because the club doesn't have. I mean, you can always establish a Google, email for your club and use that.
And some clubs actually do use that because of Pathways Basecamp managers.
Yeah.
Jason did put the Google Voice link in the chat. So
Okay.
that's also an option.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the most important things I think would be is to go to your club, to the executive committee, all your officers, have this discussion and figure out the protocol. How do they want you to process those payments? What ideally do they find acceptable? Would they rather, say, well, whatever, if you want to take the cash and then use your credit card to pay it and then put the money, you know, the club dues into the account, that's fine. Or if they say, well, no, you have to deposit all the cash into the club account and then use the debit card for the club to pay the dues. That's really ideally a club decision on
No,
how they
that's
want
fine.
it.
I handle all of that exactly by the book. I'm not gonna mix my money and the club's money.
Mhm.
It's not that hard to deposit cash, so
Yeah,
just
that's why I
deposit
said,
it.
you know, I usually treat the Zelle payments as cash.
Yeah, excellent. And Menominee Falls is a really great larger club that's super successful. You guys have,
Mhm.
are you still gonna have 20 members in October?
I believe so.
Excellent. So
Yeah.
that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, the real challenge with it now is just because everyone self-pays online. We have this flimsy little $5 club dues. Nobody
Mhm.
wants to write a check or,
Right.
you know, anything, or then you're handling a lot more cash for $5.
Mhm.
So Venmo would be handy. If I can do that with a Google phone number, we
Yeah,
already have a Google email address, so
yeah.
that'll be pretty good. I will do that.
Excellent.
And Dave, you're already at 19, according to what I see from the district's perspective. So
Okay.
Dave looks meaningfully at Teresa, who hasn't sent a payment in yet, so I guess I'll be moving on that. Well, excellent.
I didn't know if Jason could see names.
I can if I look hard enough, but I usually
Yeah.
pivot table the names into reports because the way I can get it is actually by running a roster.
Hmm.
Because then I can get it without the dashboards being updated.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
We have a lot of access.
The power of being the district director. Ooh, I can run a report no one else can.
Nice.
Feel like Santa Claus. See who's naughty and nice.
The one perk.
Well, excellent. I hope that we've given you some good tools and some good ideas to think about. One thing to consider for the next dues period is before dues are due, like a month or 2 or even 3 months ahead, make sure that your members are aware of the value they are gaining from their Toastmasters experience. Make sure that they are reaching their goals, make sure they have their goals in sight, they're working towards them, and that they have that support of sponsors and other club members and actionable evaluations, all that rolls into the value of their Toastmasters club. We do have a new incentives program coming up. It's just been posted, and this is another way of adding value because there's different opportunities for people to try new skills and new activities. And I'm throwing that in chat. If you go to the incentives page, you're able to enter in which activities you've tried, which activities you want to try, and send the email to, I think it's tmincentives@gmail.com, and get those photos and screenshots in so we can see how much fun people are having and how we are adding to the value of your Toastmasters experience.
Yep. I already printed it out.
All the colors. So I want to thank everybody for your time this evening. If you do have further questions, Lori, if you could put your email in chat, that might be a good option. Or if you want to reach out to me, I'd be happy to share ideas and resources. And, you know, get those dues in. It's just over a week out, but you never know how well the web pages are going to stay up. So get those dues payments in. And any questions or ideas, we would love to hear them. Okay. I thank you again for your time and have a great evening. Take care.